Hi, hotties. Welcome back to the Real Houseguest of North Hollywood. I am your host, Carson Frey. I'm here. It's a beautiful book club day. So this is our June and July selection. I was just really tired and I didn't have time to read. Look, I love Pride. I'm going out for Pride. I could have been doing better at reading books during Pride Month, but sorry, I was just having fun. I feel like Andy Cohen would like that. So for our June and July book club selection, we are reading The Daddy Diaries by Andy Cohen. Now, guys, this is our second time reading an Andy Cohen book. Last time was his first book, Most Talkative. So this is called The Daddy Diaries, The Year I Grew Up. It's his third diary-style memoir, very inspired by Andy Warhol, as he mentions throughout the book. It's in 2022, and it's him juggling life as a new parent. So Ben is around 3 years old, and it's right before his daughter Lucy is born, and her being a newborn. And we see him juggling life between hosting Watch What Happens Live, his radio job, his job hosting New Year's, him trying to do a book deal. He has a very, very social life, like a lot of SGP references. Jen Shaw's going to prison. Yeah, that happens during the book. So we get all his feelings and reactions about that. Lisa Rinna quitting Housewives and trying to come back, and then Bravo being like, I don't know. Him like quitting drinking and trying to lose weight for BravoCon that year. It's really like a peek on this like unfiltered chaos and joy. Like there's a lot of joy in this book, and you see him grow up so much. Like I feel like we see him change more in this book than in all of his 3 other books combined. So there's a lot of behind the scenes, his evolving friendships and flings. Yes, he does mention his dating life a good amount. I mean, a lot of it takes place during the monkeypox scare, so he wasn't dating then. He would actually talk about how he was just like messaging guys like on Tinder and exchanging sexy pics. And we're here discussing it all with my favorite person on planet Earth, my Grammie. Everyone, please welcome my grandma. Welcome back to the Real Houseguest of North Hollywood. I'm with my favorite person on planet Earth, my Grammie.
You're one of my favorite people, too.
Am I the only grandchild that calls you Grammie? Does everyone else call you Mimi?
Samantha calls me Grammie.
Okay, so older generation, you're Grammie, younger to the Gen Zers in our family, you're Mimi. What does Everett call you? Grammie?
I'm not sure.
He's like, that lady. That one.
Pretty much, yeah. He's still not comfortable with me. He's at that age.
Yeah.
Actually, he's at the age of Andy's little boy
Kid.
in this book.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So yeah, today we're talking Daddy Diaries by Andy Cohen. So this is our first repeat author. And then his latest book. So we read his first book, Most Talkative, and now the latest. So I chose this for June, July book club because I wanted to do someone queer, and he's the only queer author in Bravo, which I found a little interesting because there are other queer people in Bravo, but no one else writing books.
This was a fun one.
Yeah, and it's kind of exploring like a different way to be a parent as well. So this book takes place over the course of a year, is 2021, I think it was.
And 2022.
Yeah. And it really goes into a lot of different parts of his life. A lot of it, though, I would say the majority of the book is like his story as a parent, you know, becoming a parent. You know, it's the year I grew up. What was your like initial reaction to the book, Grammie?
Well, that's what I felt like. It was getting to know a different person than I did in the first book, because he is now a grown up and taking on those responsibilities with children. And so that was interesting to watch him through the year grow and change.
Yeah, I think you see a lot more change in this book than in Most Talkative. And I've read his other Andy Diaries, and they're the same format as this book, like A Year in a Life. But I would say this, you see the most change. You know, another thing I find interesting is I feel like he grows into his role as a parent more with the second child, even though he already has a 3-year old.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. I thought it's a good thing he got another child because it was like he and Ben were just buddies.
Yeah.
And then when little one came along, well, it was like, oh, all of a sudden he's in charge and he's got two kids, and it did change very much so.
And maybe something about having a daughter in particularly, I feel like hit him hard, you know?
It did. It changed the dynamics, I think, between the three of them.
For sure. A big concept in the book is like mom guilt versus dad guilt. And he shares his guilt over missing his kids while he's like working or socializing. He's always doing a million things, but he also does get praised just kind of for showing up. Do you think his guilt is sincere or performative?
Oh, I think he's very sincere.
Yeah.
But I know that it used to make me so mad that dad's always got that credit for showing up. And
Hmm.
I don't think it's quite as much anymore because there are a lot more single men who have children.
Yeah. Do you think society is more forgiving to men as parents?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, like they get credit for doing stuff that's kind of expected of them, but it's like, oh my God. Like, I hate it when I've heard people say, like, oh, my husband's babysitting our kids. I'm like, well, he's not babysitting if it's just like him being at home with his kids. You
Right.
know?
And I have a friend whose wife left him and left him with a daughter that he
Mhm.
raised from the time she was 3.
Oh, wow.
And found myself thinking, "Oh, isn't that wonderful?" And then I think, well, I know a lot of women whose husbands have left them and they've had to raise their children. It's no different.
It's no different, but I do feel like men get that, like, oh, you're a single father. But women, it's like, oh, you're a single mother. Like, if men are stepping up to be a single parent, that like they're godlike, but women are like, you know,
Yeah.
broken pieces of something. I don't know. Do you think though, if Andy was a woman, his lifestyle would be so admirable, or like he would be seen as more neglectful if he was a single mom?
Oh, yes, Carson, I think you're right
Mhm.
because he had a very active social life, going to lunch and dinner and late night drinks. And I mean, he just wore me out, all he was doing. Yeah, if it'd been a woman, I definitely think she would have been criticized.
Which I don't agree with the criticism for anyone really because it is exhausting, you're right. Like he literally I'm like, does he have more hours in a day than I do? Like
I think
he's
so.
he's up, he's doing this. He's like going to do the radio show, then he goes and works out with his trainer, and then he's doing, this deal, and then he's going to pick up Ben, and then he's doing Watch What Happens Live, and then he's having dinner, and then having a night like it's every day is like that for him. And so
Yes.
you're like, "Oh my goodness," but I think it fulfills him to be that social, you know?
Well, I think so. He's such an outgoing person,
Mhm.
um, and he does make time for Ben. So many mornings. Like when they switch from the crib to the big boy bed, and
Oh, yeah.
and Ben would get out of bed early, and so I think he found time every day. I think it was quality time. He
Mhm.
wasn't just with him there in a room. He was actually reading a book or watching a movie or doing something with him.
Yeah, I noticed that section of the book when he's like, "Okay, I'm trying to not be on my phone as much," and he noticed how his son would respond, and his son would, like, notice, without noticing, but he would feel it. Do you think the standards of how we see parents, like moms and dad, has, like, changed over the years?
I do. I do. Because when I was growing up, the only single parents were because the spouse had died, the husband had died or he'd left.
Yeah.
And now then reached a point where a lot more people women, especially single women, were adopting, making that choice. They wanted to have a family. And then, particularly after gay marriage became legal and acceptable, a lot of gay men, it seemed like were
Start having more
adopting
children.
or having kids, and it changed. I think people are much more accepting of it now.
Yeah, and that kind of just made me think of how, like, the feminist movement really allowed people to choose to be single mothers. And so, how that eventually empowered a man, a rich white man, to also be a single parent by choice.
That's true.
And that kind of leads into like being a single parent by choice, because I think that's such an interesting thing. Because I think of my mom who was a single parent, but not by her choice at all. Like, I know if she could not be a single parent, she would never choose that. And I did
Right.
find it interesting his choice to be a single parent, especially like in his 50s. What would you have done? Like, say you were single in your 50s and you hadn't had kids. Like, imagine that for yourself, even.
Oh, I think, well, I always felt like I was so young when I had my kids
Hmm.
and didn't know anything. I think when you're older, you're probably a better parent. You're a little
Hmm.
more knowledgeable, and you also have more money. And
Yeah.
that's one thing, he definitely had the resources to hire help, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah. I do think it's bold. It's a bold choice because I think the older we are, the more stuck we are in our routines and our like lifestyles. And
That's true.
it is a huge lifestyle change for like a single guy to not
Mhm.
be laying in bed on a Saturday morning to be like, okay, I'm up at 8 a.m. like doing parent stuff.
That's true.
Do you think the book portrays him as like emotionally prepared to be a single parent?
Well, I don't know that anybody's ever emotionally prepared, but I think he had thought about it long enough, and he there were times I wanted to say, who cares if Ben has ketchup on his hamburger? I don't like it. He would get caught up in little things like that, but then I think most parents are that way. Sometimes we get caught up in something
Tiny
that we wish
things.
we didn't.
Well, and seeing how your kid is different than you, because I think maybe Andy had this expectation with Ben a little bit, like, oh, he's a little version of me. And Ben shows him all the ways he's nothing like him and all the ways he's exactly like him.
Yes, exactly. And that's probably one thing that was good about having another child, is that maybe his expectations of Ben to be just like him won't be quite as much. He'll start to see them as two individuals and
Two little people.
two
And Ben's
little people.
personality is so adorable. Like the way he asks his dad questions or just be like, Daddy, can I tell you something? And it's just so adorable. I did both the audio and the hardcover, and I really liked Andy's impersonation of Ben, like in the audiobook. It was very, very adorable.
Oh, yes, I may have to listen to some of that too.
It sounded like a podcast because it's diary format and it's like a day at a time. It's like this because some entries are so short. Some entries were like, woke Lucy up, da 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 da, cuddled in bed, back to bed. Like it's that short.
Yes,
And then
very.
some are so long. I think a big part of how Andy's able to be a single parent is nannies, 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 which
Yes,
are mentioned, but not that much. Like, we know they're there. We know he's looking for a new nanny after the night nurse leaves, which I was even thinking, I'm like, a night nurse is such a privilege. I'm like, oh my goodness. So rich people don't sacrifice their sleep because they always have a night nurse
exactly.
to do the every 3 hours, right? With newborns, they're up, and that makes such a difference. Do you think he's aware of like the financial and logistical privilege?
I'm not sure he fully appreciates it. I mean, I think he's glad he does have it, but he has no clue what life would be like if he didn't have those nannies,
Yeah.
because going to work would be a horrendous problem if he were up all night, even though he had some nights where he didn't sleep real well, but it
It's
would change
different.
things.
Mm.
And I think often when you have something you're not aware of, exactly. You kind of take it for granted.
How do you think money affects emotional labor?
Hmm. I'm not sure how to answer that.
Because I was thinking kind of like, yes, you have a nanny there to do physical labor, like waking up the baby, changing the baby, feeding the baby. But they're also like doing half the emotional labor as well, you know? And how nannies are really like another parent in a way. Like, I was thinking a lot about like Ezra had a nanny before he immigrated to the US. And yes, she did a lot of stuff for him, but she was actually also this like second parent or a third parent. And so I was thinking for a single parent, you're paying to have that like more people loving your children, I guess. I think sometimes money can buy like privilege in that way. And I think it does, for Andy. But yeah, I don't really agree he's fully aware of it. Do you feel like in your lifetime there was help that wasn't as like hired help, but there was like more of a inherent community of, I guess, people to help raise your children?
Yes, I think we look for those types of friendships. For instance, I had a friend who had three children ages of mine, and we would, okay, let's get together and go to the park. And then we would kind of help each other fixing the meals and so forth.
Mhm.
But back then, I used to think it'd be wonderful to live in a commune and have other people there because we didn't have grandparents close.
Yeah.
And so some people did, but I'm not sure it was any different than it is now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like my mom had that with you, like as a single parent, like, because there were nights where I would stay with you and,
Right.
my papaw, and that was my night with you. But it's really because she was working and was an adult within a life and she needed the help, And yes, sometimes we had babysitters, like hired help, but I have more memories of, all right, Wednesday night, stay at Grammy's.
And
um,
yeah, there's a benefit from that because we are close now. And
yeah.
I think a lot of children who have nannies are close to them because those bonds are, it seems like they're started when you're young.
There is a bond to you form of the person who puts you to bed at night and gets you up in the morning.
I
And
think so.
so there's like a closeness because as a child, that's like what makes you feel safe, right? To like go be in the world, before you go to school, you have someone being like, okay, you're going to be okay, you know?
Yes.
It's all right.
And that's
um,
why I was impressed at so many times Andy would, he would be the one to wake Ben up in the morning or sing first thing and they'd spend time together. So I think that was important to him.
yeah, like I think Andy, his privilege buys him not having to do like the sitting on the couch with this kid, like every single moment he spends with this child feels very intentional, you know,
Yes.
which I think that's a privilege because you and I were talking off air about the book a little bit. And we were talking about how, yeah, he's maybe not spending all the time with his kid, but most middle class Americans are working as well. Their schedule might look different, but the reality of how much time you spend with your kid is just different, you know? Throughout the diary, though, Andy's obsessing over monkeypox. He is so like scared of monkeypox. I think he almost internalizes it, almost like another AIDS crisis is coming. Since he talked about in Most Talkative how he feel like he avoided that. And he's like constantly checking himself for symptoms and like debating going to parties. He's also like wanting to like have sex really bad. He is horny and he is holding out until he can get this vaccine. Do you think his monkeypox anxiety revealed humor, fear, narcissism? Like, what was your reaction to this like ongoing crisis?
Well, I think it was definitely fear. I mean, anyone who has been, who went through the AIDS crisis, it was just terrifying.
Hmm.
And so I definitely think fear is involved.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit of humor the way he described it in the book. So,
I also think it was kind of showing the tension of being a cautious parent and also a gay man. And like those
true.
two things to be true because I had other friends, like I remember during that whole scare, yeah, my gay male friends especially were waiting for that vaccine or trying to be like extra careful, you know? But I feel like as a parent, it must have, like, my friends weren't as abstinent as Andy was. They were just trying to be safer. And I think Andy, his abstinence, really, a lot of it probably stemmed from his children and having a newborn baby.
Well, that's it. Because when you have that responsibility, it changes you. It has to.
I also kind of thought about how monkeypox is almost this metaphor. Andy can control so many things in his life, you know? He didn't have a child. Well, he was able to control that and get a surrogate and still have, children. He's able to control so many things, but monkeypox is this like one thing he can't control.
Exactly. And I think we went through that with COVID too.
Did you find his panic relatable because of COVID?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I did too.
And when I was young, the polio scare was similar. Now, it didn't prevent you from having sex, but I wasn't allowed to go to like the county fair or any places, couldn't go to movies or anywhere where there were a lot of people.
How old were you when that happened?
Oh, it was in the 50s, I don't know, 8 to 10.
So you were a kid, though. That's
Yeah.
interesting. And your parents, you feel like were pretty aware. You were like, no.
Oh, yeah, they were terrified.
Wow.
And the same fear because one time my neck hurt, I remember, and they picked me up, rushed me to the doctor. They were scared to death that I had polio.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any like health scares that you remember that like when you were raising your kids and how like it might have shaped your behavior?
I don't remember anything when my children were young.
I can remember, I mean, even just with, I feel like COVID's the biggest example of
Yeah,
how, and I think that's another big reason the monkeypox scare was so large, was because we had just come off of COVID. So it was like,
exactly.
not again. And COVID is even like a lingering thing in the book. Like he's so scared of getting COVID before New Year's. And I feel like the
Oh,
New Year's
yes.
Eve show is kind of like another thing that keeps coming up in the book and how he can't drink on New Year's and all of his feelings about it. And
That was funny, that whole sequence. I never realized anybody did drink when they were talking about those New Year's parties. And
a lot of the book too is name dropping, like him name dropping SJP, Anderson Cooper, all the housewives. Like he's talking about Jen Shaw's arrest, Lisa Rinna quitting the housewives. And I was like, oh, I have to explain to Grammy all these people are. But I'm like, no, we've been doing book club for a while. Like, Garcelle.
I
And he
know some
mentions
of them.
Brandy. Yeah. For his social life, does it seem glamorous, exhausting, or immature, or all of the above?
Well, probably a little bit of all of them because,
Mhm.
I mean, I was impressed at the people he sees. And I mean, like going to Jimmy Buffett's house for dinner.
Just
It's like,
casually.
wow. And, or people like that he
Mhm.
regularly saw. It was kind of impressive.
Yeah.
But the amount of time he did things, it was just like I was worn out. I thought, I don't know how he does it. But obviously, he's not an introvert who prefers to stay home.
No, it seems like every night he was just hoping people would call him for a nightcap. And
Oh
that was
yeah,
another thing we discussed offline was the amount of nightcaps. And I was like, I think it's a New Yorker thing because I don't do nightcaps much with I won't call and do a nightcap real quick unless it's like my neighbor because we're not driving. And I think
right,
there's about being in New York, like it's just like, oh, I'm walking around your neighborhood. I'm right here. And New York is so kind of put together. And he's in the West Village, which is so central. I wonder how that will change though as his kids age?
true. Like I say, I'm very curious to read his next books when the kids are a little older and
Hmm.
see how his life has changed.
Do you think he's doing it all? Do you think anything is slipping? Or do you feel like that's kind of, he needs a little bit of everything to be able to do it all?
You know, to me, I think he's handling everything quite well. I really
Yeah,
do.
I agree. So a lot of it, the diary entries are somewhere between funny and frantic, parenting heavy, Bravo heavy. Do the diary entries make you feel like you know Andy more or more distant?
I really liked it. I did feel like I would I would be one of those people who walk to him up on the street and say, "Oh yeah, I feel like I know you."
Reading the diary, you feel like you're in his mind too, because he's also sharing stuff that's like not great, like not stuff you always want to admit out loud. Like when he accidentally hits on that girl, those young girls come up to him and he's like, "Would you date me?" And he's like, "Wait, I'm a middle aged guy. That's gross. Like, why did I say that?" And
Right.
but it's very like human as well. Do you think this felt like a tell all book or more of just like a diary?
I think a diary. I mean, he told of some things where he really misbehaved badly or, said things to people, but he's such a positive person, and I don't think he has a mean bone in his body, and he feels bad when he does something that hurts somebody. He apologizes. He tells you about it.
Yeah, I do feel like he does get heated and maybe has a temper. He
Yes.
reminds me a lot of his mom. Like after reading Most Talkative and this book, I'm like, I think he runs similar to his mother, which I think is so funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
because
he said
he
that.
reacts. Yeah. Like how his mother has so much to say about like if the game is happening on Thanksgiving and her being worried about it being so like celebrity, or even when his I love how he goes to his mom too whenever he doesn't know if a parenting decision is right. He kind of wants her approval still.
Sure. And that's normal for anyone to go to their parent. And I like his relationship with his parents.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. I think kind of that's what makes the book so interesting is it's you get his family and with his parents and with his kids and his work. And I think whatever part of him you're interested in, you get a good amount. And it really, I don't want to say humanizes him, but you feel like, wow, this is someone with a very full life.
Absolutely. You really do.
Are there any other like things in the book that stuck out to you as like vulnerable or funny or interesting that we haven't already discussed?
One of the things that I liked, and that's just me personally, because I watch Kelly and Mark every day on TV, and I've seen him on their show.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he talked about him in the book, that was just kind of fun. It was like, okay, I'm getting a little inside info on the stars that I watch.
And it's almost makes them more like real people, you
It
know?
does.
It humanizes them and you see them like, oh, like Sarah Jessica Parker, I think because when my mom would come home from work, she would watch Sex in the City. And I, slept in the same bed with her for years. So I would hear Sarah Jessica Parker's voice so often. I would like hear her voice and be like, okay, my mom's home. And so there's something about when I see her and Andy Cohen together, it's so comforting. I'm like, okay, it's Sarah Jessica Parker. Like, we're good.
It
um,
is. It is.
I also love the scenes of him and Amy Sedaris hanging out because they're always like getting stoned and just being silly. And I love Amy Sedaris. And I just found that I'm like, these celebrity friendships are so interesting and who he clings on to as well. Because it feels like once you're in his world, if he likes you, he keeps you around.
He does. He attracts so many different kinds of people that
Hmm.
I think that's interesting. Although the one thing, me coming from my generation, that was I was surprised about was the drug use,
Oh, yeah.
because I don't use drugs, and when they weren't that available when I was young, but he just let it all
Yeah.
hang out.
It was very much like, I know some people won't like this, or like, I know his parents probably don't like that, like, especially because they're a little older than you. So definitely don't like that. But I think it's interesting and most talkative. He acted like he didn't smoke weed and didn't do mushrooms. He probably did then as well, but it wasn't as like accepted. And like, it's also a lot more legal now too, you
Well,
know?
oh, yes, yes, I
I,
know.
I
The
think
world
that's
has
probably the biggest thing. It's like the legality.
Yes, the world has changed a lot. The one time I did smoke pot when I was young, I knew it was we could get in big trouble. So it was real scary to me.
So you're probably more anxious about that than anything. You're like, I'm not going to
Exactly.
jail. I better not enjoy this.
Exactly. So
And now I can literally walk to the corner and buy it like the same I would at a liquor store, which is crazy just like in that lifetime,
it
how
has changed.
yeah. So are you ready to give it a rating?
I am.
I really like this book. It was a little exhausting to read. Just I'm like, how are you doing so many things in the day? But I loved him as a narrator, so I'm giving it 4 olives for me.
Ta-da! I gave
Woo!
it 4 as well.
We agreed.
So, yeah, it was so much fun.
So
Um,
much fun.
yep, I'm
Yay!
glad you picked this one, Carson.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, Grammy, before we go, I do want to say what our next book club book will be because I've been forgetting to mention it. But we're going to read My Good Side by Scheana Shay. So it just came out. I'm really excited. She's from Vanderpump Rules, so we might get some Stassi references or some Kristen Doty. So,
Okay.
but I'm really excited. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.